right, welcome back to Evolution Exchange. I'm your host today. My name is Shan, and I build great teams here at Evolution. Joining us today is Kuba, VP of Engineering at eyos.one, and Gavin, DevOps Manager at IFUN. So, would you like to introduce a little bit about yourself and your backgrounds, guys?
So I'll start off. Jakub, or Kuba for short, VP of Engineering at EOS. The reason I was called to EOS, or like the team has picked me, was that for some time we didn't have a technical leadership. We also have like a huge global team consisting of developers or engineers in multiple locations. So my current job is really to be the voice of the engineering team, make sure that we are like building a scalable platform. Past experience was mainly with startups or scale-ups. I just started with EOS after our previous company was acquired, and also a lot of corporate experience like Atos, Deloitte, KPMG. So saw it like from both sides. Last but not least, I'm really into a lot of like volunteering and educational activities. So try to teach in universities, usually on subjects like information security, data mining, and blockchain. And it's like a way of giving back, probably also helping to develop talent. But I also find it like very meaningful for myself to keep up and kind of verify whether I know my stuff. Because students usually ask like sneaky questions.
Awesome, and it's some of the best parts about teaching others is that you tend to learn a lot as well, right? Being a teacher.
True. You really like double check whether you know what you are talking about, right? It's like a good way, yeah, in a very good way.
Thanks for that. What about you, Gavin?
So I'm into DevOps, heading DevOps in IFUN. Today I don't represent them in this session. I mean, I come based by knowing Shan on a personal level, and he says that he wants to create a tech podcast, and that spurs my interest because I want to start up doing things just technical. So probably same as your mentality is like whatever my experience could prove useful to others, then I would like to share the others as well. So yeah, that's my purpose here today.
Awesome, thanks for that. So yeah, I think we have two excellent personalities here to share a little bit more about how to attract and retain talent. So let's just jump right into the topic. So very first question, I would say, how would you what do you see as some of the key qualities you look for when you hire for talent in startup?
So I'll start. Like with me, it's really the team fit. When I was thinking like even about the topic of the podcast, like top talent, even like how would I define it? I was like thinking that it's all the time like about what's the role profile, what are the concrete initiatives that the person is working on. And as long as this is like very transparently shared at the beginning, then we are like really looking for someone with the best match that like ensure her personal motivation, what the team needs, right? What the company needs, whether it like fits. So whenever like looking for the top talent, I really think that I would like rebrand it a bit as looking like for the best match or best fit, because like both sides should very transparently share their motivations, right? Where like what are their visions, etc. And we are like looking whether it clicks, because at least in my opinion, like not shaking hands, it's not as important as really finding whether it works long term, because being in the relationship with another person like for 2 months and just stretching it because it doesn't work out, it's like, at least in my perception, like a bigger maybe failure than not starting a relationship at the first place. So this would be my opener.
Excellent. What about you, Gavin? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, so yes, I do agree with that, but on top of that, my opinion is when I look for a candidate, someone who is a good fit for the company, they are basically boils down to two elements, attitude and aptitude, right? So the thing is that how would you find a good balance between these both elements, right? If they are very good in, let's say, their work, but they don't have a good attitude in work, how they treat their colleagues, then that will be not a good fit in terms for any company culture. Likewise, if someone who has very good attitude but has zero aptitude, then they could not bring value to on the table. And especially when we are in a technology field, right, things are constantly changing, ever driving, and what could be up latest or updated today might be obsolete tomorrow. So the thing is that those people who has attitude, like, has to show through and some forms, like how do they display a big enough attitude in order to to join to suit that particular role that they are applying for.
Okay, that's nice. So I think one of the things that we've all observed in the hiring industry these days, especially for tech talent, is that there are very few engineers these days that will stay for 4, 5, 6 years at a particular company. Back in the day, a lot of hiring managers would be like, oh, if somebody doesn't stay at a role for at least 2 years, they're considered too jumpy. What are your views on something like that?
So I'll start off. So maybe just to quickly react to what Gavin was saying. I also very much agree. So attitude discussion that no matter whether it's like a managerial position, software engineering position, or just like bringing in your peer, the team is the ones choosing that person, right? Because in the end, they will work with that person like on a daily basis, so it better works out, right? Or like there's better some chemistry or something around that. And also the team should like trust that they are the right person who can like work with them like long term, right? Regarding the maybe like I wouldn't even call it like job hopping, etc. I would say there are like two ways or 2 points that I would like to make. One is like whether like both sides try to like figure out how can the person either like skill or move to a different role inside the company. So even with some like horizontal moves, right? Or what are the new motivations? Because everyone develops, everyone still wants to be like relevant, work with like modern tools, etc. Right? So first of all, like whether we are like kind of pivoting and looking around what's possible. It's also pretty much tied, I would say, to business results, because when like the company has a good business results, everything else is kind of supported activity because the company is scaling up, there are new opportunities, etc. So it's a bit easier. And maybe one second point is that necessarily I don't think that someone like just how's it called, like taking the leap or just like moving to another company is like necessarily like some disaster. It could be like very objectively really like moving on to a new role, building a skill set. The question again with me is like whether the two sides are communicating with each other and whether they are like aligned. For the future's sake, I would actually, if the legal framework supports that, and also if companies and we are like able to operate in such a way, I would even love to see people maybe like sharing multiple roles across the companies, right? Because at different times there could be an interesting challenge for them, and just like plugging in and plugging out of this relationship seems like more modern approach than like being like stuck at one place, no matter whether it still like fits or doesn't fit your interest. And on the other hand, you don't have to like make even in yourself some hard decision to move on because you kind of know that you are keeping up multiple relationships. But so these are the thoughts that I have around this. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
So this topic is pretty interesting because I have just discussed this topic like with a few colleagues around lunch a couple of weeks ago. So in my opinion, is like in terms of this word job hopping, right? There are really two kinds of people. One is really the job hop in order to satisfy or themselves in the means of materialistic ways, which is pay, higher pay, packages, so on and so forth, and not just that, probably higher profile and stuff like that. The other one is like whether they stay within this company, if it boils down to whether have they achieved their milestone in learning, whether the company has what they call paths for them for further for further career expansion, whether by horizontal or vertical. So one example is, for example, I started out from telecommunications, but the thing is that I realized that probably telecommunications is not my field. So I move on to do software engineering, and then I move on to DevOps and stuff like that. But at one point in time, you connect them. When you look back and connect the dots, right? All that is past or what has passed, all connected, and really helps you to bring those past experience and apply to your job. So back to your question is like, whether are they job hopping, right? We really need to find out like what does the person aspire, like higher pay, or whether it's like what do they want to learn, what do they want to achieve in there. And to be honest, right, I mean, I've been in the industry for almost 20 years. There are hardly any managers provide good career planning and sit down with you one-on-one and tell you, okay, what do you have in mind for a career progression, right? So the thing is that for us as tech leaders, right, it's our responsibility to do that, and then let those people to feel that that is someone who I can learn the ropes and achieve my career progression in a matter of times, right? So coming back to those people who really job hop for materialistic means, we can't stop them. But my mentality is that regardless whether they want for better salary or progression, our attitude is that it's like I always told my direct reports or people who I try to push in the field is like, I want you to graduate from this company, go to the next company, and prove yourself, and then you say, okay, I learned those things from my past time. Okay, things like that.
I think that's a really good point, actually. As leaders in tech, right, it's quite often that you can sometimes find yourself trying to push business objectives, and then you kind of forget about the career progression of those that are working under you or working for you. So I think that's a big part about how we can differentiate ourselves from other hiring managers as well, right? What do you think?
So two good points, like from Gavin. Like one of that I really like, that the person should be like proud of think like X in front of the previous company, right? Like being like proud ex-EO version, for example, just using our company as an example. And the second one, that really like just even the interest in like the career goals of the person is really important. And maybe I would even stretch it like to just generate like life of the person, right? Because people are in different life situations, right? There might be like a just wants to try many things, right? Just is exploring the territory, what he will enjoy, right? Like regarding the domain, frameworks, companies, large companies, consulting, more product-oriented work. But then you might have someone who, like, for example, recently got either married or has kids, right? And the life priorities change. And it also goes like to the topics of whether it's like more maybe like stability that the person is looking for, right? And so like long-term progression, or whether they just are there like for the experience and they need to rotate constantly, etc., right? So it's also a huge topic, just even knowing like because sometimes even the person needs to kind of find it about themselves, right? Just what they really like want in life, and it's also not something that they like decide that it's like done until like being 90 years old, right? But it's something that like develops over time, and in different phases it might be something else.
Absolutely. So I think, this ties into our next question actually perfectly. So how do you balance the needs of your organization versus the career development goals of, your employees?
So I would start with like that I try to be like the matchmaker, as like Gavin was mentioning, because even in like my current role, like spending time for like one-on-ones, like discussions, being part of various workshops and initiatives, like it's not like that I try to be everywhere, right? But like at least I can provide the context to the rest of the team, right? And sometimes, especially when we are like talking about these horizontal moves inside the team, it's something that even the person needs to like discover, because maybe they live their typical working days in some like closed group, right? And just like seeing what's out there and what's like possible, it should be also my role, right? And when I, for example, have the knowledge or even like other managers on the team leads, etc., of what initiatives are in progress, and then on some like whatever we've heard, I know like I'm too much like in DevOps, and I would like to also learn like data science or data engineering, etc. Then it should like click, right? It should be like instant connection, like and that person like that there's something that we can join, right?
Yeah. Okay, so for me, currently in my company, I have, probably because of the nature of my profession, which is DevOps, right, which bridge so-called bridges developers and operators together. I try to bridge gaps that I see within our organization. And one particular thing that I see that is currently lacked for is like, it's more on the HR side, not my side, but I try to give some suggestion to my HR colleagues, saying that we should have definite definition of job functions, job grade, so on and so forth. So people know where they are, and at which point they want to strive, things like that, and whether if the company could give them the particular career perspective they need. So for example, if there is a people that at senior level, we want to bring them on staff last track, right? We also need to see whether the company has the path to that kind of career progression, for example. So like most small companies today, they don't have this grade called distinguished engineer. And they might know Google, Meta can afford that. But the thing is that if let's say someone who's really good, can be a distinguished level, then we shouldn't hold them back. So coming back to your question is that the thing is that a lot of things is not just as simple as like having a podcast session. Also, we need to build fundamental blocks of an organization. Regardless whether whether is it in the department, technical department where we have the control over it, and also other parts of the organizations like the business side, the HR side, right? So the thing is that how do we bridge this gap is that for I don't know about Jakub, but I believe we are tech geeks or tech nerds, right? So the thing is that we apply the best technology, best practices, but how do we bridge make the entire organization better and more efficient? And these are the foundation and building blocks that would make how to say any employee feel safe at their work, and whether they can see light in front of the talent. Yeah.
Just to very quickly follow up, of course, even communicating what tech is doing and integrating with all of the other departments, super important. And also one trend that I like is just bringing in people from other teams inside tech, and maybe even making the boundary more blurry, because sometimes it's a career progression opportunity. So I mean, a person at, I don't know, customer care or tech support actually knows the business very well and can very nicely upskill into some more engineering role, right? And it's a nice career progression. And second of all, also making the other departments more techy, or even learning some basic coding skills can be a very nice way to build a culture where people are even able to help themselves more frequently, right? Because not every question needs to be answered by a tech person or engineer, and it just the boundaries should also get more blurry, right? Because whenever it comes to some scripting, automation, etc., these are actually cool skills for anyone, right? And they don't have to be a developer. They just should think about it as, I speak Czech, I speak English, or maybe Chinese, and then I speak Python. And that's that's kind of the way I would like to see it, even if the person just uses it from time to time.
Absolutely. I think, with smaller environments like startups, right, it's easier to blur boundaries between departments. Whereas, some of the bigger MNCs, they are very overly structured, a lot of red tape in terms of what you can do and what you can't do. So aside from this, what are some other ways that, as technical leaders in startups, you can, attract talent to join you guys instead of an MNC?
Trying to figure out what would be the biggest. So I can try to start with examples that we actually have at the EOS, right? And then think even more. So what one is really our current policy around remote working and flexible hours, and even whenever the session makes sense on site. So currently we have something that we call EOS Nomad, where people are traveling different countries, and as long as we have even some approval from our people team, we know that it's okay regarding taxation, and it's just some short-term stay, etc. The person gets a thumbs up, right? And it's a huge productivity booster, because it's just the person is in new environment, right? Even after all of the COVID pandemic, etc. It's really refreshing. And it works out nicely, because even currently we are already global team by default, right? So we've got engineers in UK, Indonesia, Singapore, Australia, Romania, really spread it around the world. And this is a nice benefit that also makes it easier for everyone to kind of balance their work and life balance a bit better. So this is probably one of the more perks, right? Second one would be really the transparency that I was mentioning, is that all the time the cards should be on the table, and really be super transparent around what we cannot afford with new hires, but also the existing team. Even for example, I don't know, engineering managers having salary transparency with their team, so that they can align it with seniority and know that everyone on the team is being upskilled, but also very remunerated, etc. And probably last but not least, it's also some employee brand, and this is something that where we are starting. And I don't mean brand maybe it's marketing sense that we will be promoting something, but really know what we stand for, right? What kind of people we are looking for, what kind of team we are, what kind of meaningful problems we are solving in the world. And just making sure that we are first aligned on it, and we are also communicating to the wider world. Because the best thing when we're looking for someone new is that it's already someone from our community, someone who likes EOS, who encountered us somewhere at some talk, or maybe in this podcast, and it's not, it definitely shortens up the period when we need to introduce ourselves to each other, but we already know what we stand for. And also this way of presenting it somewhere, etc., makes sure, once again, with maybe getting back to the university lecturing, whether we also know, right? Whether we know what we stand for and what kind of people we are looking for the team. So I mean that really just standing for something, providing flexibility and no nonsense attitude are kind of the key drivers that I would want to mention. Gavin.
Yeah. So very I would say from Jakub. So I think adding on from his perspective, which I completely agree. One thing is that I mean, in order to attract talent, right? As a startup company, it's difficult to fight with the 900 pound gorilla or 800 pound. So how do we differentiate ourselves? I think one thing is like we need to give positive vibes. And what are the positive vibes is that things like come here and learn, feel big, but learn your mistakes. The thing is that with bigger corporations and structured corporations, failing is a big thing. But for for startups, right, we are more like explorers. How we grow ourselves to a 900 pound gorilla or so. So the thing is that how we market ourselves and give such a positive vibes. That's one thing. The along this way of giving the positive vibes, right, is that whatever stuff that the company has, they should be happy, and not just giving them unlimited snacks, free food gear, through that big bags. These kind of things are like what I previously said: career progression. They feel safe with their job. There's good camaraderie, with their teammates. And then from there they will say, "Oh, I know this guy, from my ex company, which is very good, and both attitude and skills is a good fit for the company." Then they will start have what we call the spread of mouth. Then they will start pulling talents, right? So if you look at articles today, right, people, of course there are still people who are looking at monetary value, but people would like to be honest, if there is a very good company with positive vibes, everything good, right, they don't mind receiving that lesser amount of money in order to stay up with you. So I mean that's how I feel, right? So if we can build a good nest, right, for people to come, then I think like all the birds will fly and settle on sections.
Maybe just quickly, like with the bubble giving, I totally would like to sign that we cannot just beat it with money, right? Like overpaying. Like startups and scale up are just not in that position. It's just like it's very good to state that very, very clearly. Like we need to stand for something, and also like I like the fun or even innovative aspect of that work, because there should be a lot of fun in work. There should be a group of people who like enjoy spending time together working on meaningful problems, right? And then when the business results come, but we are growing up, or even if we are still like at the smaller size, right, it should be still something that we stand for. But we can never like beat it with the salary. It would be even like if some startup or scale up like did it would be like for one person and would take it totally even like break some team fairness, right? So there are some like objective limitations.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think money solves everything in this case. Yeah, I think I agree with both of you, right? The vibes that you give, employer branding is very, very important point when it comes to attracting talent. What are some effective ways that you guys have seen or have used to improve your employer branding and get people to get excited about joining you guys?
So with us, it was really like, and currently we are kind of still maybe starting that inside tech, right? Because I was even mentioning like during the opening that it's a new domain for us, even some tech branding, but really like showing ourselves at like different like meetups, conferences, engineering events, either as listeners but also like as speakers, right? and also kind of motivating the team to do that, because it's also a way of growing, right? Because it's the similar experience that I was mentioning with the university lecturing. When I know my business, right? It's the same with everyone on the team, right? So even like long term, it should be like part of our culture and what we do very naturally, rather than like some events that we have to like schedule or something like that. So we're like showing off what we stand for, and then like have kind of, especially when it comes to startups and scale up, everyone really on the team can be a rock star, can be like a superstar, like someone famous, someone like an opinion leader, because maybe compared to larger corporations, and our advantages is that we really can invest into people, right? Because if there are like 1 to 2 people who just like are responsible for a particular component, or especially in small companies, then they are really solving something incredible, right? And they also like learn a lot by failing, right? And that's cool, because maybe in larger corporation they would already have some safe nets, right? Maybe even more mature, say like the DevOps infrastructure, right? That would prevent them from making such a mistake. But like in smaller companies, they are owning a lot, they are learning a lot, they are able to share it with the wider world, and this is and we should like show that up more, because then they can be like opinion leaders for others.
So that's very good perspective. So that's also something that I'm trying to do right now. I mean, for most of the years in my life, I would say I'm much more, behind Jakub, in the sense that I hide behind my desk, just do my stuff. But now I see the need, to step out and to show people the things that we do in order to attract like-minded people. So one thing that I think like we could share is perfect, like make themselves presence not only in terms of the company. So let's say the company itself, right, has really has their own marketing to market the company brands and that, right. But as ourselves joining like tech summits and stuff, when we go around with like-minded people, this really helps to widen the aspect of people that get in touch, and therefore help us to draw talents along the way that we try. Of course, one thing that I want to add is like one of the things is like we try to showcase like what we do and how we do it different. So for example, I have been in this current company and the past company, I've been constantly telling people how do we do our DevOps differently. For example, people use Terraform to write their infrastructure and code. That for me is totally a whole new beast, things like that. And hopefully we will try to attract those people who are curious enough to find out like, okay, what is the hidden source you are things like that. Yeah, so that's one way of doing things.
Okay, and maybe just up to like Gavin's point, also like I'm with the same, like I'm like I think that there's a word for it, like introvert, maybe like someone who is introverted but like might seem as an extrovert, but I also like to like focus on some problem. just like be even like closed in the room for 2 weeks, just solving something new or learning about technology, etc. And it's also like my natural state, right? But I also feel the need for really like sharing it with others, etc. Because it's also a way to kind of maybe let it be like challenge, shape it up a bit, etc. And I would love to have the same experience for like everyone on the team, because even when we, for example, partner with, I don't know, like previous companies that we work with, and we just look at each other's stack, and maybe two people holding a similar role discuss how they are solving the same problems at different places. It's just a way to also like grow as a person, right? But other than that, I'm like I would like to spend my life like with books and with like just the computer, and really like learn a lot, because there's way too much open stuff that I don't know.
Yeah, I think stepping out the comfort zone is something that you don't actively try to do unless you really think about it. And different engineers will be at different stages of their careers before they actually make that step. So aside from that, right, if let's say you were giving advice to an engineer just starting out in their careers, maybe 1 or 2 years in, what other pieces of advice would you give them?
I would say like at the beginning, like it's probably totally would be like to experiment, just you even to fail, try out like different roles, etc. But maybe just like so from my personal, at least I can maybe look at it from hiring perspective more. Whenever that there's a fresh graduate and I for example see that they are trying to very narrowly specialized on some role, I think it's like too soon, because just to give a particular example, there could be like a person who really like develops great native mobile apps in Kotlin, and like everything around like the libraries around the Kotlin ecosystem, etc. is very clear to them, and they can be like very even senior in this like more specialized domain. But unless they also like ever were encountered with something to the level of like system design, or even like how internal or DNS, how it works, how if they never like build a pipeline or didn't have a chance to maybe like try another programming language, and maybe even like some difference between like imperative, functional, etc. They don't have like this concept, then they might find themselves like after like 2 to 3 years really kind of like stuck, and maybe doing like more or less the same, and also maybe more difficult to cooperate with the other engineers on the team who like have the broader context, right? So for me, at least at the beginning, it would be really just like even being open to like pivoting, rotating, etc., and getting some experience before like figuring out what's like the real interest. But Gavin would love to have your thoughts.
Okay, so yeah, I think what you say really makes sense. So for me, I have a few experience. So one of usually there are for new engineers or people who are at the early age of their career, right? There usually falls 2 categories. So one, they knows what they want in quite a near future. And the other one who totally has no idea where they want to be, what they want to be. In one simple word, they are lost. So basically, what you say really makes sense to people who what they are lost. Like try to explore until you find something that is interesting. And what I would want to add on that is that whatever you learn today, right? If you are not like okay, I learn today and then I forget it tomorrow. But with whatever you learn today, you keep and bear that in mind. Like 20 years down, when you connect the dots back, you are able to connect the dots, right? So the thing is that for me, for example, I didn't start out with IT. I have a manufacturing engineering background. So what I learned there is processes, so I learned workflow processes, try to make things efficient. Industrialization is about efficiency in terms of reducing it from that. So this has become the core of wherever I go. Not necessarily like the how many books I totally memorized those days I would know today, but the key concepts I brought it over, and same to those people. So explore, learn the key concepts, bring it to another place. Then we talk about the first one. The first one is they know where they want to be, what they want to be. So for example, they will be there will be people say that, okay, I want to be CTO. So how would you provide them the tools that you have? Not necessarily you have all the tools, but whatever you can provide, then you provide the tools to them, and especially the knowledge. So that's how I look at. So wherever today, it's regardless whether it's my direct report, my friends, people who are much junior than me, this approach that I would tackle, whether they do what they want for their career, or whether they are lost. So if they are lost, I'll repeat exactly what you are saying. But for people who knows where they want, right? If I can help them, I help them. But if those that I can't help them, for example, I have a colleague in some other departments that is not directly reporting to me, then I'll advise like how you should speak to your superiors, and then sit down and then do some career planning, tell them what you're interested in, so on and so forth.
True. And I also like the point that it's also the differentiation. If the person doesn't know, then like helping with pivoting and getting experience is the right thing. But when they have a certain career plan in their mind, then we are the ones who are supposed to help that, on the execution and on the planning, and having like clear steps how to get there. Yeah. True.
So up until this point, we've always been talking about the good stuff, and I know one of the main learning points is that in startups we make mistakes and we learn from mistakes. So we're gonna apply that to today's topic as well. So in your experiences and during your travels all these years, what kind of common mistakes have you seen startups make when it comes to attracting talent?
For me, it would be that, and especially with engineering, that like the first engineer or second engineer on the team necessarily doesn't have to be the CTO or like the head of engineering or someone, because they might be following up like a different career pathway, right? So I mean, probably, and I can make it actually like personal. I really, despite that currently at EOS, we don't have a CTO. I really like being in a position of VP of engineering, because whenever we scale, there could be like a very mindful decision, right? Like, are we in a position where we really like need someone who already like skilled larger companies, etc.? If you like bringing it in and we will team up and we will make it happen, right? Or do we rather need, for example, engineering managers, directors of engineering, etc.? So I would say that the first thing is that like the team should really look like for which role is currently like needed, and it could be like hiring your own manager, but also your team member or someone like who joins you. But I think that this second point is already getting a bit dated, and I'm happy for it. But it's like not respecting the like manager with this like engineering pathway, right? So kind of feeling out that every like capable engineer has to become a team lead, engineering manager, and then maybe the CTO. But like totally disrespecting that there's the other like crucial path of someone who really wants to like grow with seniority to like staff, principal, and maybe this distinguished engineer, right? And that there's a lot of value for in it, and it's really like, so I think that the career paths are still there, but when it comes to like maybe prioritization and like solving whether we should more invest like into platform and product and what are the differences, what's like technical depth, etc., there's still some explanation like happening, right? So the second mistake would be really just thinking that every engineer needs to grow into a manager, and I think it's getting better, but still, yeah, still there. It's worth to repeat that. Yeah.
So in my humble opinion is that what affects the company, right? I would say it's top down. So first we are the founders, or the C-suite people. Then we have the execution, the media managers, the managers, and so on and so forth. So the thing is that how company feels or badly is, I think the leadership that comprises these managers and media managers has to be carefully selected to build the foundational path for hiring new employees. So, for example, if someone who, let's say, hire a VP of engineering or head of DevOps or whatsoever, but the thing is that if this guy is particularly strong in technical, right, but he is not a good people's manager, he doesn't know how to build a team, then it's difficult to attract talent or even to grow that team to support the business. Likewise, if there are two peoples, right? There are two people person, right? Then they probably lack of the technical piece, whereby we have engineering problems like every day is a someone situation, things like that, and that is no company would like to see that, because it affects credibility or revenue. So the thing is that how do you justify this again? Aptitude and attitude. So you need to find the sweet spot of who is to put them in that leadership spot, and then I believe when you put the right people in the right position, then things will happen naturally, and you know, I won't say they won't fail, but the chances of failing will be lessened a lot.
And this matchmaking is, or like finding the right people at the right seats. It's really important.
So like instinct.
The business speed, right? No, but at like one point, to even make it like personal in our company, a failure that we really like made, is, for example, trying to even like increase the scope of the responsibilities, and then out of a sudden moving the person from the role that was kind of like promised to something else, right? Like very typical example would be if like a DevOps engineer, for example, joins the company, and then they more or less do like identity and access management, or just like setting up accesses, etc. It's not the same. It's not like why they are for, etc. So even just like of course, like there's a lot of people thinking, etc. But really being like true about what's the job about, and making sure that the person can focus on what they are motivated with, like I find it like super important. And in the past, whenever we tried to do it like otherwise, somewhere along the way, bro.
Yeah. So just to add one more thing is like I've not completed the book, but I came to learn the book from another good friend of mine. So he wrote this book. I think it's something like the Staff Plus Path, the path to Staff Plus, something. So the thing is that in the beginning of the book, right, or two where I've read is that the book didn't say that the staff like a staff what are the what are the key points to differentiate from you being a senior engineer and a staff plus engineer, right? So the thing is that even in the book they doesn't have a clear definition, and you go around, you say, oh, you can define your own roles, and so the thing is that there are people out there in the world, right, who thinks that, oh, I'm actually very good, but how do you put them in practical, or put them in how to say, put them in earth, right? So the thing is that you need to set criteria, like, okay, what kind of what are people that are senior, and versus what are people who are staff plus. So for example, in my opinion, or in what I think, right, principals should lay technological roadmap for the companies. The staff is to be really good executioner, and then coach people underneath. And seniors are still silos. They can be silos. The thing is that what a task given to them, they know how to handle it without bothering people upwards. So that's the differentiator, right? Criteria. So the thing is that why I say all this is because like the thing is that there is no clear definition of who is supposed to do what. And when people thinks that okay, I'm supposed to start class, but yet Jakub doesn't want to promote me, like that. Then the thing is that whether have we clearly defined what are the criteria like that? Okay, I see you have potential to be from senior to start class. What you should do? What should you take a step and move beyond that? What beyond your budget? So
and the criteria is like really good point. And then also like what kind of role profile the person enjoys, because I really like the differentiation between like even someone who's like architecting the solution and then who's like executing on it, right? Because to have a very like practical example, currently we are, for example, running on like a BigQuery and Snowflake, and someone might have an idea like to, for example, like it looks like that we are doing a lot of streaming events, let's introduce like Kafka, right? And though like, am I the person who's bringing the team together and who's like maybe preparing some design docs, who's like doing this system level design, etc., getting the buy-in from the team, seeing what it would break, etc.? Or am I the one who already like gets assigned, okay, so now we are going for Kafka and I will be the one who's actually doing the actual coding work, right? And this might be like two different role profiles, and different people might be interested in taking part in different stages of the process.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for all of that, guys. It's very informative. So we'll round off today's episode with one of my favorite questions. What is one unpopular opinion that you might have in terms of what makes a good software engineer?
Popular opinion. Can you give an example?
Well, maybe some characteristic that you think makes a good software engineer that but strongly disagrees with.
Okay. Probably I will start was along the line starting. I think it's quite hard. So I think one unpopular opinion is that how do I put it this way? I think bugs are normal, right? The thing is that when people encounter a software bug, they will make very nasty comments. Oh, yeah, this software is. But the fact is that whether do we have a ecosystem in resolution the bug versus the bug is where it's like bothering your someone who is using that software that really bugs that person. So the opinion is for me is like bugs is really all it's really like how fast we can resolve it. Some companies or some organization, it took me months, and even sometimes I have experience like it took me 1 year for me to get things fixed, and by the time it was fixed, I no longer using it. Things like that. So yeah.
Oh, and thanks for taking like the lead. Because I had the time to think about it a bit. Like first one, probably when that I heard from the team at multiple places, was that whenever software engineer gets code used for like IT administrator or just like something along that lines, when like the expectation is that like on top of like developing the software component, please also fix my computer or something like that. So it's really one. And the second one would be probably around some like maybe short-sighted like hacks or even like, there's some like agile approach, etc. And we still like need to develop some MVP, etc. But I mean, not keeping the platform with a lot of like technical depth for longer. So anything along like that, for example, something along the lines of developer experience doesn't matter. I think it does. Because really it's something that the engineer encounters every day, like at work, right? And if they are working on something that's like solid, scalable, etc., and it's like very enjoyable and it affects in their lives like very positively. Whenever like maybe like business related decisions don't seem to recognize that they're also projecting themselves like on the platform, then the life of the engineers might be miserable because every day they start to work with something that's like buggy, that just doesn't work out, and it's especially with engineers where the work-life balance with the boundaries are kind of blurry, right? But people really need to work on something they find meaningful. This related to.
Awesome. So yeah, that's all the time that we have for today. Thanks again to Kuba and Gavin for joining us, and thanks again for listening in. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Evolution Exchange.